Lord's Prayer, we will go from there. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Exciting week, exciting week. So I brought up last air or not last Airbender. I brought up Falcons. I brought up how the coach for Falcons, which is the best, presumably around the best these days, Dota 2 team, although they lost to Tundra recently. Dog eat dog world out there. But anyway, they've been having really phenomenal, even legendary run for Dota 2. And Dota 2 is a big game. A lot of people really play it now. In some ways, one of the most competitive games. In some ways, it's number one. And they were asking the coach about their approach to things, and he really talked about foundations. And because Dota is a game where you're selecting heroes amongst a pool of various heroes, and those heroes, they change, but they stay within inside of certain frameworks, and their interactions do change, but they tend to stay again inside of certain frameworks. And so I've really taken, this is our 12th amazing episode of Magic Secrets. We're missing Tokyo Gary already, by the way, man. You can already see how it's just definitely not the same without him. But hopefully we'll get him to sneak awake here and there every once in a while and update us and tell us how it's going in Tokyo. We're actually going to be spending some good energy, and maybe one time here or there we'll even switch the podcast timing to an evening one to particularly accommodate Gary. I particularly wouldn't want him to feel miss out, and it's so wonderful that he's in Japan. Japan is just such a wonderful place for so many reasons, and especially for gamers and for anime and for so many other reasons. So Gary's going to really be helping the Magic Secret Show and OMG City, everything that we're doing, connect up with Japan. Jason is a big fan of Japan, and Japan's a big fan of Jason, of Smitty, that is. If I call him Jason, everyone's like, looks around, who's this Jason fellow?
The world knows me as Smitty.
Smitty, yeah, most of the world knows him as Smitty. By the way, Smitty's white hot, not just on landing his first client, but he's actually in essence landed kind of a terrific meta client, and it's quite exciting. So again, this is it was my full intent that this kind of have a full business aspect to it, a whole money getting aspect to it, and so Smitty actually already has, it's quite impressive, his first client. It's a radio station. It's also a media company, and they have lots of talented people working for them, a lot of authority to work with, a lot of vested trust they can work with. So Smitty is off to the races in a terrific way. He connected me up, and did more than connect me up. He, the client, by the time he talked to me, was very knowledgeable in all the right things, and of course, there's plenty that was left for me to talk about, and anyways, it's going great. So I thought I'd do that kind of mini annihilation report for on behalf of Smitty. Smitty's a very modest and humble person, but yeah, it's quite exciting, and also it's very exciting for people in OMG City, in our little OMG City on a hill. That Jason, it's very good news for you that Jason could easily wind up being a real earnings multiplier for you, that Smitty is just at least dabbling a bit. We want him to at least dabble, because he'll be able to help you with your own money getting, not just with your magic, but it'll really put him in a much better position to help you deck build with your own agency, with your own OMG agency, with what you're doing. Because Jason will that way Smitty will have a bit on his own, but gives things a bit of more of a crossover, and we're really at a time when that crossover really works. Now, Smitty and I have seen this work in the past. We did it incredibly well with relationship advice and social dynamics. We basically crossed internet marketing and the relationship advice world right at the same time, with the same website, many of the same people, and just explosive results on both sides for our members, and all kinds of either earnings reports on the money getting side, and all kinds of relationship success and breakthroughs and so forth. And we're really accountable. We had Smitty, I would say around 1,000 testimonials. How many do you think that we had?
No idea.
For Area 51 Lifestyle.
An absolute shit ton. It was pretty beautiful. Like I said, we've talked about it a little bit before on the pod with Eric and Eric, I think, at least.
But we had that Yahoo group, and almost every day you would see somebody making a breakthrough.
Yeah, I mean, in those weeks that I was in Vegas, I had a lot of fun working, and that's like some of the funnest work you can do when you feel like you're actually helping people.
Yeah. Oh, right. Because for you, it was more than just our Yahoo group and our emails and so forth. You were really coming, in touch one-on-one with our members, which even I wasn't necessarily nearly as much as you were. That's a really good point, Smitty. So it wasn't, we had a sort of a protracted thing, much like with this podcast, where we were, we had an email list, and we were sending out dispatches and updates, and sometimes, videos and so on. But there was a real great meeting that Smitty took a part of, where a number of these people that had been learning and so on, where he really came face to face with those people. And so you really kind of saw things come full circle at that time.
Yeah, it was quite the confluence, because I was leaving New Mexico, and I remember talking to you on that Tuesday night, because you were not a Tina fan, the girl I was living with at the time, and she asked me if I'd considered the prospect of living alone. Shout out to Jason. And I said, no, I hadn't done that yet.
Yeah, that's funny.
So from that Tuesday night till probably 4 a.m. conversation to you were asking me what I was going to do. I'm like, I could go here, I could go there, I could do this, I could do that. And you're like, well, I could use some boots on the ground in a little city called Las Vegas. So packed up my shit, sold some shit, made an arrangement with my friend in New Mexico that was headed out to Vegas a week later, that he would bring most of my other stuff on a truck, and we'd share a storage unit. Anyways, I moved from New Mexico.
Well, and about 3 or 4 days later, there you were filming people, or maybe it was a week later, whatever it was. You were filming our students, hidden camera, so they could see themselves in the field.
I also immediately got sick as shit.
Well, right, I know that, but you fought through that.
Like terrible.
Right, but you fought through the sickness, and ultimately there you were coaching them in field. Like, it was more than just we were doing. We've done that a bit in person, but you were doing it in field. In the Vegas casinos with a hidden camera and all this kind of stuff, and really making a huge difference.
Security once.
That's good. Yeah, very good. By the way, a good hidden cameraman.
They didn't like you film. They're more amenable to it now, but they did not like you filming in their casino back then.
They sure as heck didn't. But this is something that was not like a small interest for these men. It was a very, very big interest for them to improve their social dynamics, for them to be able to vibe with people and to have successful, enjoyable relationships. Just like we want people on this podcast, viewing this podcast, to have a better experience with Magic, better experience with other games, enjoy it even more, have your breakthroughs a little bit more served up on a silver platter for you. But Smitty, I think overall, I really do think that we had overall around 1,000 annihilation reports. And it was, it was really good.
80% of those guys left with actually I'd say 100%. The one poor guy who didn't have much success at all, he was, the accountant from Seattle, God love him. He learned a lot. But the other guys, I think they felt like they really got a lot of bang for their buck, even though it was a significant amount of bucks.
They could actually see it. I mean, it had just never been done. I mean, we're talking, folks, this was like 2008. I mean, this is a long time. Like YouTube was brand new, much less having.
9, but okay, close enough.
Okay, sorry, my buff. YouTube was everywhere. No, I mean 2009.
I'm a
YouTube
stickler
was very new.
for precise.
It was still very new. This is really before the whole breakthrough with Facebook exploding and being everywhere. Although, Smitty, we had the Facebook close. We were using Facebook probably more than anybody else in the world at that time to our advantage.
Yeah. Funny side note, Mike Long created both my first email account and my Facebook account for me because I was kind of resistant to both because I'm just a Luddite at heart.
Oh, right, but it all works, right? Like it's not
great.
so bad.
Like,
yeah,
I remember you made both those two things for me. I was like, I don't need that shit.
Turned out being pretty good. Yeah, great.
Exactly.
Okay, so the walk down memory lane in part, and I want to set things up for Smitty because he's got a lot of content for you. He did a lot of play testing last night. He's got a lot of ideas to share with you. We may actually try screen sharing on his side, so we'll see if that works. If not, I can screen share on my side a little bit more. But I've got the man of the hours up here, Badgermole Cub. We expect this card to really be, making huge waves in standard, both by his presence himself and also by implication. Other decks will have to kind of mold around it and so forth. It's going to make a big impact on the environment. We'll be outlining at least 1, 2, 3 decks, at least 2 or 3 decks that are tested. Smitty's had a lot of results with kind of one of these landfall decks, Tifa and so forth, that he's going to be talking to us about. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to have Smitty kind of lead off the beginning of the show with that, and I'm going to be particularly background, and then I'll help. I have lots and lots of thoughts about Badgermole Cub. This is again a card that's going to be really important, and I talked about at the beginning of the show fundamentals. Like I was talking about with with Falcons, with how they approach Dota 2. They really try to stick with a lot of the same ideas and strategies and fundamental strategies, and then tune them instead of jumping around and really changing and revising and kind of going on the fly. They're more trying to pick a deeper strategy. And this kind of blue-green strategy, we've proven it, by the way. No one has proven it, I think, better than Theory has. And that's a real thing. I want to do a tip of the cap to Theory, because he was somebody who really has led the way in believing in this, in Mr. Blue here, in Drunith slash Jackal. In fact, we're going to give more attaboys and more belief with Theory. Actually, Theory, I did believe you enough to buy some nice foil Innkeeper's Talents, because boy, in the aggro version, as Theory has been talking about, that's a really potent card, and it turns out when you cross it with the Cub, it really gets extra exciting. So if you take this card here and this card here together, you have lots and lots of mana for Innkeeper's Talent. It gets out of control, especially with your Mr. Green. We have in our stable, in our wheelhouse, one of the fundamentals that we work on. First of all, we use David's Magic Secret strategy from the Magic Secrets book, and the various concepts that are in there, like semi-soft locks and so on, for how we're designing our decks and how we're building the mana concepts and so on. But also, this ultimate deck idea that he expresses in Magic Secrets, where there are certain fundamental decks that we want to target and we want to take advantage of them. We want to master them. Now, we've seen Gary and Michael really doing this with the Boros deck. We want to keep encouraging them to continue doing that. Michael was actually in the top 100 a couple times after the Nemesis banning. So it goes to show that Boros still has some real explosive potential, and Michael showed that. So we're real proud of him for doing that. In the meantime, a lot of us others have been working on this more Drunith and Jackal-based deck. And with that, with those fundamentals that we've been working on, we had Dan Burdick, who's just so talented. He's worked for WotC, one of the top people there. He's the inventor of 5-color green. He is so impactful on how Magic has shaped as a player. He really helped shape the game by designing so many decks and being such a community builder. He was then a producer, produced one of the first documentaries ever about Magic, and then he got into designing for Magic and so on. And so he's been a part of our group and part of our testing since the very beginning with this, even with Smitty and I, long before we launched the podcast. And he was the one who spotted Badgermole Cub right away on the spoiler and got me thinking about it, got me marinating on it. We hit the ground running yesterday when it became legal and standard. And so because we've been practicing all those fundamentals, we have lots to work with here. We have a running start, and that's going to help us a lot. We have lots to work with. We're already testing Seraphic Steed that we call Zebu here, and a lot of these other cards. Smitty, that is the build up for you. I know you probably only have a few minutes to work with, but let's see if we can, just for testing. And I would just fundamentally saying it's great news for you guys for Smitty to be doing a little bit of money getting, because then he's going to help you with your own. Because that's how Smitty is. Smitty's just a helpful guy. Everyone around him does better with what they're doing. Let me try to make Smitty a presenter, and let me see what happens with that. Smitty, did you have a pop-up come up on your screen that said share your screen? All right, great. And do you have Magic pulled up and you can just share your screen? And
I don't, and I'm not.
You don't, so never mind. All right, great. Well, at least you learned about that, and that's a new thing. Okay, so we'll go back to me presenting. All right, and we will share my screen.
Please and thank you.
You got it.
So, I wanted to say something to start off. I've been thinking about it for a while. If you play Arena at all, it will remind you often that you can't control what cards you draw. What you can control is your reaction and how you feel about it. Like, only I can really upset me. I
mean, outside of like being burned with acid, I mean, there's certainly times when something's really frustrating and shocking, but I agree with you. You certainly can have like a lot more impact on it.
I mean, I start with the ground level of only me can upset me. And yes, there's certainly exceptions to that.
Sure.
But the point of that first statement is.
But in the main, there's a lot. But I'll tell you what, if you do realize that there's a few things that are either going to potentially tip you off pretty bad or just it'll blindside you, there's a whole bunch of things that aren't that bad. If you keep them from spiraling, if you nip them in the bud, then Smitty is really right with what he's saying. Right? Like the core message that Smitty has. Go ahead, because that's really valuable.
He's exceptional at nipping things in the bud. He won't accept negative people doing negative things in his life. So he just like, nope, you're out. But the point of it, magic wise, of that statement is like, I have pet decks, I have things I love, yada, yada, but we don't want to be Bloom at Worlds when everybody has 4 rest in peace.
Oh, right. Yeah. When I played in Bloom at Worlds, when everyone had just watched me play on ESPN and they're all ready to ambush me, and I won one match with the world championship on the line. It was hot. Yes. One match out of 7.
The next thing is, besides Badgermole, the most exciting thing in the new set are the lessons. I thought WotC would have learned that Ancestral Recall is not a good card for competitive Magic, but they decided to combine it with Impulse. It's called Accumulate Wisdom. We'll talk about that deck another time. It's super sick, very fast. Gary and I have both.
The top 3 cards of your library. Put one of those cards in your hands. Put each of those cards in your hand instead if there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. Oh my. And then I assume there's other good lessons. That's
Gary and I both talked about playing against this deck, and it's done. So anyways, Mike and I were talking a little bit earlier. He was mentioning in the group chat, and I had already made this note. The size of the frame for the deck right now, it's just a huge frame. Like the essential 24-ish, maybe more than that cards. And that's kind of a testament to a good deck sometimes, is you have this huge frame and then you can input other smaller aspects Like I was thinking about flanker.
Yeah, like where it's not so narrow that you're always just trying to twist yourself in knots trying to make something work.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a frame of 12 cards, that's a really small frame. That's 20% of your deck. It seems like it's a lot, but if you have a frame of 24 cards, 30 cards, whatnot and so forth, you're really building off of something. And yeah, one interesting thing was that you found the Bringer Bird of Death. I don't know how you found that for this deck, but it's pretty cool. And another thing.
Yeah, I'll show that in a second. That's wild. Yeah, that's gonna be good.
It's interesting with yeah, a quick note on card values and stuff. Like we see how Starting Town was kind of ignored, as was Oroid at first, whereas like Multiversal Passage and our friend the Badger Cub, like people looked at them and they're like, holy shit, like let's drive the price of this up into the sky. And I've talked to Brent a little bit about this on the side. One of the interesting things is like dual lands, Multiversal Passage, Starting Town. They're always going to be relevant. A Bororoid probably as well, as will be the Cub, as the Cub's also a 4 of if you're going to play it. So things that produce mana, draw cards, and
also just completely explode the game for 4 mana. Which Broid he's kind of the new, like if there's a new, but he's his own thing, of course, but he's like a new Shieldred, right? Shieldred had a way of just sort of taking games over in various eras of Magic.
Exactly. Great point. Yeah, I remember talking.
There's a huge number of differences, so don't over parallel these cards, but in the aspect of it being a forecasting cost card that you cast it and sometimes kind of immediately win just by the virtue of there's kind of being no way out once you cast it, because it's a certain blend. It's a certain blend of like your opponent kind of can't get out of it at that point because you have a few paths blocked for them. Go ahead, Smitty. This is great content.
Yeah,
Thank you.
A couple of years ago, I remember us talking, and the point that I was adamant about was that Monstrous Rage and Shieldred were the best cards in the format, and eventually they figured out that they should ban Monstrous Rage.
Yeah,
which is bad because I love that card.
You were definitely on the ban Monstrous Rage long before anybody else that I heard of.
Yeah. And another interesting thing with this set is it's just so powerful, like so many powerful cards. But and I've played a lot against people just in the past day or two that are implementing strategies based on this new set. And one of those things you see some cards that we had kind of put on the sideline that we now have to rethink about because I played an ass ton of landfall. Order of Nilia.
Yeah, let's pull. Let me pull something up along those lines. Let me do it this way. Let me go to decks and let's kind of build it while Smitty's talking, because that'll sort of help us. I'm going to make a copy of this deck and change some cards out and find out from Smitty how he's doing the landfall deck. I know he does have Broids in there. They'll have a lot of the same cards. You don't have any Keeper's Talent in there, do you?
I have, but I don't think I do currently. I just
it might be a real good fit right now. Okay, yeah. So you are running Drunith, right?
I have a note about talent too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are you running Drunith right now or not?
I ran it with Drunith some. I'm currently messing around with the red instead of the blue.
Okay, great. All right, so let me just get the components that you have.
If you pull up the group chat, I can show you like some turn twos that were just insane with Badgermole, like just absolutely batshit. Or maybe I can. I don't know. Let me see.
Sure. Yeah, I can get it pulled up. Just give me a second to pull together the rudiments of the deck. How many hydras are you running right now?
4.
400. Okay. How many Tifas?
3 or 4. Either is fine. I've done both.
How many Ice Tail Explorers?
2.
2. And now you know obviously that Ice Tail Explorer plus Demolition Field. Okay, great. Wacky.
It can. I had a guy scoop because I left him with just blue lands in his control deck. He had 4 or 5 islands. He's like, oh, okay, I quit.
Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on real quick, talking about Theory, is I was playing some of Theory's blue-green deck from like a month ago, and it's still great, even if you don't change anything. But the more important point is something you talk about a lot is really getting to know a card. On its face, Innkeeper's Talent doesn't look like the big shebang. But I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now, but it builds on itself. Like Ward 1 doesn't seem like much, but it's a lot when you're playing against a black deck. It's a lot when you're playing against a red deck. Like every one of their spells that wants to fuck you up is now a mana more. And so they may still be able to Lightning Helix your Bristly bill, but it costs them 3 and that's the end of their turn.
Well, and Innkeeper's Talent also. So one of David's things that he taught us in Magic Secrets is that sometimes a card changes, sometimes a premise changes, and that means you have to go back and check your back work, and you have to reclassify, recategorize cards to freshen your perspective on it. Otherwise, you'll underestimate it. So when Theory was talking earlier today, Theory, you brought up, hey, it's not normal. And Theory, let me have you talk about this for a second. It was a great inspiration. You're like, guys, it's not normal for 17 mana to be available to a deck like this.
When's the last time I saw that? I don't remember when 17 mana was easily available. I mean, 17 is a lot, but I've seen 9. You know, I've tried it, obviously. A 9 is fairly common, fairly quickly. I don't remember when's the last time where we were able to get this much mana.
Yeah.
So there must be something around it.
And then you already realized about Innkeeper's Talent. Can you talk to us about how it was before, and now it's obviously way more powerful with the cup.
So. Right. Well, Innkeeper's Talent, I think, was a game changer actually in the frame that we were doing with the blue-green Juneth. And when I tried it, I feel like it was so much better with than without. And you know, I wasn't sure if it was going to keep being good, depending on what the meta was going to be. But so far, I still don't know enough about the meta to know for sure I would keep it. But what I know, though, is I think you're right. It's better now than it was before because of the
and maybe Theory, maybe like way better. Like
potentially
way better.
Right.
I mean, it's explosive now.
Yeah, you just can enable the things that you have to play so much quicker and stuff like that. Before, I mean,
it happens quicker, and that ultimate ability that it has, the doubling the tokens, and not just in Smitty's deck here with the landfall. I was using it in more kind of what we've been doing, kind of Zebu the Great, or various things we've been talking Bunny Bazooka, that same type of style. But with the way it is now, you're able to just have these crazy turns. We saw that guy who was playing a very similar deck to yours, copying a bunch of my creatures, copying my Cub and copying my Mr. Green. And then he had Innkeeper's Talent, and then all of a sudden he had all this mana, and he just annihilated me.
Yeah, same thing happened with me actually. I only played a couple of games so far, but I felt it was much more powerful. Now, what's cool too about the Cub is it's very powerful, like I think so far, maybe even more than Junette. Right? I think Junette was kind of a game changer, but this is just something else.
Well, and it works with Junette. I mean, the crazy thing is,
of course,
I mean, I've had so many games that I've copied a Badgermole Cup with Drunith, and all of a sudden you have a million creatures.
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, so much mana. I mean, it's just like, what the hell?
Sure.
Gentlemen, let me interrupt real quick because I got to go take my car to the service station because I scheduled poorly. One of the things that you're talking about with the Badger Cub is like, I think it was turn 4 or 5. I was able to harmonize a Nature's Rhythm into a Crater Hoof.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's like 10 mana, right? No, it's 12 mana, and it's like turn.
That's just wide. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I was looking for a matted dumps. I go ahead, keep going.
And then yeah, my kind of final point is, you remember Urza's Saga, the booster boxes, right? They basically put the deck on the box. I think this is I think the way they're doing pre-release cards and such is kind of putting the deck on the box. Like they put for those that aren't familiar, Talaria's Academy, Stroke of Genius, and it wasn't the actual card, but it was a picture of the guy from Mind Over Matter. It was on the outside of the booster box.
And we do pay attention to these superstitions, like professionally, like that. The way I spotted scroll rack back in the day, months ahead of the pro field, yeah, it had the same name as Curse Scroll, and I was like, I bet that's not, like these designers are people too. They want to see their cards that they make spring to life. In the main, I'm sure that there's some that want it secret, but mostly they want it.
And see how long it takes us to figure it out.
A very helpful weaver, right? Like they call a card a very helpful weaver. Just take some freaking time with that card.
All right. Big frame, Bringer Bird, Ancestral, Urza's box. So I kind of want to build Cavero. I'm trying to make it go fast and whatnot and so forth, because I just
let me pull this up for you. So I'll discard the landfall deck. We'll talk a little bit more about it. But I did build a version of it. I don't have the cards on this particular account, but I will pull it up for you because so you're talking about a bringer deck, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the cool thing about it is I kind of want it to play. I want to figure out how to make it play. And Dan or yourself, like some people that have played for Earth Theory, I don't know, for eons, might be able. I want to make it play like a Hollow One deck. Like you're just like, boom. You're not necessarily going to combo them out in one turn. But if you get, Craterhoof, it's interesting. I tried him before. Didn't have great results, alas.
So wait, am I thinking of a different deck? What deck are you talking about now?
Hollow One, where if you, it's like something silly, like a 4/4 or 5/5, with cycling, and then if you
is this in the current standard?
No, it's an old school deck.
Okay, so what's the new card that you're working on? The new deck you're working on?
Oh, Cavero. It's the.
So we are on the right deck. Okay, great. I didn't know if I was on the wrong concept altogether. So this is the deck we're talking about, right?
What I'm trying to do is, like we talked about before, is try and make it work with just blue and black and go faster with Soulstone. I had some cool games going on. I think the hate is just still going to be too much, but we can fit in 4 counter spells and 4 ego drains to at least, because we're sacrificing having Awaken the God and a couple other green cards. But with the fairies, we gain Likeness Looter, Ego Drain, the fairy counter, and just gives us, well, the reason I compare it to Hollow One is like, it's not exactly parallel, but you're just like, you're discarding half your hand to put like 3, 4, 4s in play and say good luck on turn 3. Okay, but I really got to go, guys. I'm sorry. I wish I could say.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, and congrats on getting started with your OMG money game. Great job, man.
Bye.
All right, great that we had. All right, terrific. So let me do this, Lawrence. We've been going through a lot of content without getting a chance the last couple of weeks to hear from you. So I wanted to give some extended time to hear your various thoughts. This is a brand new set coming out, so you're having to assimilate once again a brand new set, and yet you're seeing that there's ways that we're building these things and so on. So let me give you a little bit of time here to talk, and I just haven't heard from Lawrence in a little while.
Sweet. Yeah, no, I'm excited about the Avatar set. It's one of my favorite shows, like Dan mentioned in the group. I like the offer, what you created for us, kind of having like a core foundation to work off, and then kind of like build off of the last build like on the last 8 cards or so ourselves. I haven't explored it too much. I haven't experimented too much, but yeah, I like the concept. I like the idea of being able to like build off of that and then just kind of like work on our own stuff.
Good. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. So David thinks of stuff for reasons, right? Of course, he knows that by going this ultimate deck idea, where we're kind of focusing in on one or two concepts, but really trying to stick to it, right? And he does this in draft and in constructed. That by doing that, we are sacrificing a little bit of it, or even a lot of flexibility. We might be sacrificing an enormous amount of flexibility, right? But David's point is that if you find kind of a good promising vein in the first place, and you kind of hammer away at it, and again, you can't think, well, I'm going to win every pro tournament. Life's not like that, and games, no matter how far a game goes, it's never going to be perfect. There's, especially with the pressures and mistakes that are made by tournament organizers and game designers and so forth, where they're not going to be perfect in the first place, but then compound that with just real life and people not having a very good handle on philosophy in the first place, whereas they do have a very good philosophy on all kinds of other things. Like, we have a very good handle on delivering internet to most of the world, for example. That's a place where the world is working reasonably fine by that standard. But by the standard of philosophy, it's like everyone's trying to like stare through smudgy frames and wondering what's wrong with each other, and not realizing the smudge in front of them. Like, no, I'm sure you have a finger right on your nose. It's right there. I see it. You got a finger nose right there, Lawrence. You're a finger noser. I see it. It's right. Can't you see it? Duh. Right. Of course, you take your hand away. He's not a finger noser anymore. Oh, geez, I guess you're not a finger noser, Lawrence. Geez, I always knew you're a good guy. Right. No, wait just a second. Here we go again. Right. Now I have another thing occluding me and I can't see it. Right. So one of the things that we're doing, we want to pick, like Smitty's talking about, we want a big frame to work with. Theory talked about that as well. Something where we have a lot of cards to work with, right? A lot of robustness. We're not just squeezing down to the last, okay, we only have this. We only have these few cards to work with, ideally. But then we're kind of sticking with the same frame inside of that. So we have a nice big berth, but then inside of that, we're really going to hammer away at it and work at it. And in doing that, we're just going to get so much more. If you compare how much we're going to get out of our, let's say, blue-green deck, right? Out of our Mr. Blue, Mr. Green deck, our Zebra the Great, whatever we want to call it, the Isengard Shuffle. We could just stick to calling it Isengard Shuffle, by the way, because that's what you do at the end. You do the Isengard Shuffle at the end. One way or the other. I used to call one of Dan's decks that has a lot of similarities to this Isengard Shuffle for the end of Lord of the Rings, when all the tree ants are coming into Isengard and they're having a dance on top of Saruman's head, and so they're doing the Isengard Shuffle.
Nice.
When giant beasts come in and run you down. And that's what happens with these decks that we're sharing. In many cases, is you just got these oversized guys, gargantuans, just running people over. Lawrence, you're coming from a standpoint of somebody who's learning these games. Of course, you're having to fit in with your life, just like anything else. So you want it to be a mixture of expansive and interesting, but not so expansive that you just feel lost as well, and where things kind of feel devoid of meaning either. So I'm kind of trying to point out why David's doing this, why he's designing this way. Why did David pick SEO, right, as our main wheelhouse, right? He could have said marketing. He could have said internet marketing, right? Marketing is much bigger. Internet marketing is still plenty big. We really focused in on SEO, and then things that have integrations naturally to SEO. Of course, that gives us plenty of internet marketing. We know tons about internet marketing, like email, right? But our main wheelhouse still to this day, 30 years later, is SEO. That's our ultimate deck, and it's yours too. And now you see why. Does that sort of make sense, Lawrence?
Yeah. In a life world, like, we have to pick something, right? In terms of strategy, then I can see.
We do.
Yeah. Choosing something that's gonna be so foundational and like just adaptable, flexible, I suppose.
Well, because the idea is, like, let's imagine two scenarios. In scenario one, we're playing the ultimate deck, the blue-green deck. Scenario two, we're kind of playing the field, right? The idea is that we're gonna get so many more wins out of that one deck, that one blue-green deck, that it's gonna make up for the times when we could have been pouncing on this, pouncing on that with a new deck, right? That overall, we're gonna wind up with more wins and maybe a lot more wins. And a lot of that is because the blue-green deck, see, you're gonna wind up playing a lot of blue-green over here in the land of opportunity, is one of the funny things, right? In the land of the ultimate deck, you're always playing blue-green. In the land of opportunity, you're also sometimes playing blue-green and sometimes playing against blue-green. I would like to point out, one natural thing is you're gonna play a worse version of blue-green over here. You're gonna play it worse, and when you face it, you see, in fact, almost every matchup over here, you're gonna play worse, you're gonna know less about it, you're gonna understand it less, right? And so I'm showing you some of these things that we're doing, some of these things that we're working with. And does that mean that sometimes we're having to say, oh, now we're having to make a more major decision? Oh, this road seems closed. They just had some bannings. Is this going to still work? I don't know. Sometimes we have to pivot, and we do, right? Sometimes we do set something down a little bit, but you know what? Then we at least have an affinity to picking it back up. If conditions change, or at least coming back and double checking the field a couple times to help us see. And I'm helping you see the range. Lawrence, I'm trying to help you feel the difference here. The biggest thing I'm saying is I'm trying to not just talk about something, but have you feel a difference in that thing that we're talking about. So I want you to see that difference. What is that difference? Over here, I'm playing the deck. I'm playing it cub in both ways, right? But do I know all these oh, I could have done it this way. Oh, if I had done this first, I would have eked out one more mana. Or if I had, do you kind of see that? And you naturally are spotting these things for your opponents too. Like, oh, they have this. Here's the gamut of possibilities, right? Because you've seen that, you know it, right? In this ultimate deck world, what about red? What about, some kind of graveyard reanimator? What about a life gain deck, right? How do I play that? When am I aggressive? When am I attacking? When am I holding back a little bit more? Do you kind of feel that, Lawrence? Like, do you, as I'm bringing these up, do you feel that difference?
Yeah, I do. It raises a question, though it might be outside of the scope of what you're trying to point out directly.
Please. I love your questions, Lawrence.
At what point does something come out, a new card, a new set potentially that changes the game? How do you recognize that the change is significant enough to?
Yeah, we really try to be humble. So one of the things is Magic is a lot like money game, where it's very subjective, right? So long as you're having fun, it's all pretty much good in Magic. Like your time is returned reasonably well. It's one of the things why I do try to keep the negatives of it relatively down, and I really try to offer other games up so we don't feel like all games are competitive. I don't like that at all. I really don't. But Magic has so much of an appeal, and it's so broad, and there's a way that we're doing it really as a team here, where it's a bit of our own sport. It's a bit like we have quite clear definitions of what is important to us, right? Like when I said with Smitty, we'd have, with David Mills and I, we'd have a community that we were teaching them relationship advice and relationship dynamics, so they could have a really good vibe with people when they met them, and they met someone of the opposite sex or whatever, and have it start well, and with David's understanding, have it go well long term and so forth. And so we had to decide, what are the things, and David, I decided on this together, what are the things that we are going to focus on and bring to and highlight? What are the reports? What are we worried about? Are we worried whether a relationship, like, what is it? What do we want to see before we're talking about it? What, and how intensely, like this is with internet marketing, people had dumbed down their idea so much about what a product could deliver to you that you'd really never see very powerful, meaningful, contextual earnings reports before David and I existed. We brought that into the field, and we would say, hey, this is what's important to us, that you're taking these steps, you're doing something meaningful, like maybe building your city SEO or building your email list, right? And I might highlight that and say, oh, a beginner did that, that's good. right? I feel really good about talking about that. Or maybe somebody who's been out of the game for a little while is getting back into it, right? And he does that. Oh, good. I like that, right? Maybe Theory is making money with this cold email, but now he says, Mike, you know what? Even though I'm making a bunch of money with my cold email, I want city SEO too. I'd say hell yeah, right? Those are all differences that I would say hell yeah. And there's a bunch of things I won't respond to. Now, if Theory comes to me, or let's say now it's Lawrence. If Lawrence says, hey, I got my first $1,000 a month client, right? Well, that's always of note to me, right? But I also want to know what that means for him, and I want to try and know a little bit more about that. So I might tease that apart and find out a little bit more from him. Oh, is this your first? It is, great. Let's talk about that, right? Or oh yeah, it's my first this week, right? Maybe Lawrence has been racking them up, right? And I would want to know that. You see. But these are kind of the guidelines and ley lines. I'm talking to you about some of the things, and then there's things that might be of interest and that might be included in earnings reports that other people have, or other testimonials that I might not highlight, that might not be as important to me. One of the things I don't do much of is, let me give you an example. My earnings reports really are very rarely like, hey, here's a guy who was slumped over and dying on the street, and then he got our thing and now he's flying high, right? For the most part, actually, we're starting with pretty nice people that mostly have their shit together in life and that have a good head on their shoulders and that are pretty damn good at a number of things, and that more important than anything else, that you're kind of open-minded and looking to really stick with David Mills and what he's put in front of you. That's what we're looking for. And when I've gotten that, those people have had overwhelming success, right? Now, there are elements to what I just said that would fit someone else better, right? If someone is going through a really difficult time in their life, I don't know if they should join an OMG program. And I'm not trying, like, even by not necessarily, let me put it this way. Would that mean, like, let's switch it to Bryn. Let's say that Bryn was going through a particularly hard time, but now he's flying high, right? It's very normal that someone like me, who might be talking to him and might be gathering an earnings report from him or a testimonial or something like that, I might highlight, oh yeah, Bryn, you were down, you are really, boy, you were screwed, and then or whatever, or kind of lead into that, right? I'm telling you, I wouldn't do it even if that was the case, and I'll tell you why. It bores me. I couldn't care less. Not like when Theory comes back to me, I'll tell you why it bores me. There's no data in it is the problem. If Theory comes to me and says, Mike, I just won 18 straight with this new deck. You know what? The next question is not going to be from me. Well, yeah, but how'd you do with the deck before that, Theory? What are you talking? I couldn't care less how he did with it. Unless there was some die-in or some tie-in. So let's say he got his butt kicked three previous tournaments, right? Do I need to be like, oh, Theory, oh, geez, you're a freaking loser before you met me? No, I don't want that. I don't want that in my culture, and it's not really true. It's not what we're looking for. And even if it was a situation with the Bryn case, and I'm just making this up just based on who we have here, that Bryn is flying high now, but he was doing particularly poorly, I wouldn't talk about that. I would smooth it out. And you know what? Let me bring something else up. Let's change Bryn's scenario just a little bit. And now let's making it that Bryn was flying the freaking high. He was making $100,000 a month doing something else. And then he just started having success with my thing, right? And it's $1,000. Okay. A huge mistake I could make that I've learned that I wouldn't want to make is to at all dismiss his new success, right? Who am I to not see the full new success, right? Do you see how let's imagine that Bryn was a talented, some kind of a trader who does real trading, like magic cards, whatever, okay? Like a trader. And let's say he was literally making with this website and web business, Pokemon and so forth, $100,000 a month profit with that, okay? But now let's say he landed an SEO client. Can you see feel it. Like you're gonna feel like that first 1,000 is a drop in the bucket. You're really gonna feel it. It's really hard to feel like not turning and saying, wow, Bryn, let's talk about that Pokemon, you see? And it's a crucial mistake that you don't want to make, because what if Bryn could foster that 1,000 into something so great? Or what if it's very meaningful and could, if he could just keep his eyes on it, could have all kinds of other great ramifications in his life, even in his Pokemon business, you see? So how I look at it and what things matter to me, and David guides me on this stuff. This is how I know this. This stuff is very important to us. We'll talk about it. David will tell me something. If I tell him, hey, this guy did this or this gal did that, and David doesn't say anything back to me, it just usually means it's boring, right? And I hadn't even realized it myself. And we'll both just sit there kind of in an awkward silence, like nothing. And then we'll just move on and probably never discuss it again. And but I'll know, and it's not that hot, right? Whereas if I tell him something else, he's like, wow, that's really cool. You know, then I know it's something of substance, right? When David and I were talking about Smitty's first client, he's very excited to hear it. When Lawrence, with your news, he was excited about it. Bryn, with your news, you know, you've been working with theory and stuff. That's excited. That's great. You know, I mentioned that stage. That's great. So these things are all important to us. But I'm showing you what's not important. So in these reports, because I'm trying, there's all this data we're sorting through, right? And all this time when we'll either have wasted data that could have been very helpful to us that we blow past. I was helping a high school football team this last week, and I watched some game film for them, and they were very surprised that I told them I watched every play 4 times. They were very surprised. They thought what was better was watching plays more often. I said, not so. What's better is watching a few plays a bunch of times. Isn't that fascinating? But it really is. It really helps your learning. I was working on the sales letter, the email for Smitty's client, and it was a joy. But I was working through it. I mean, I practically wrote it working with Nikki, and it was fascinating for me. And I was learning as I was doing it. It was interesting to me. Right, I was going through it, and I was pouring through it, and I was pouring through the contours. And when I was talking to the client, I was talking to him about, you know, that letter and what I'd said, and bringing things up that I had highlighted, and so on. And this will be really nice for Jeremy. We'll make sure this will be one of the best episodes for Jeremy altogether, because we talked about a number of things that are really nice for him. But he has some clients in the pipeline with this as well. So yeah, there's a certain way in which you know, David really has these things connected up, because he's thinking through the whole process. He's thinking about how you're feeling as a beginner going through the magic process, right? In this case, or money getting process in the case of more, you know, OMG for money getting, as opposed to what we're doing right now. Obviously, we're doing OMG kind of for magic right now and for gaming. When we're doing more with relationship advice, you know, what will it look like? We'll talk about different things. I don't know exactly what we'll highlight. It'll depend on the group that we're with, what's going on. Got to be careful about stuff like that. Got to have a light touch, you know, with anything with this stuff. And why do you have to have a light touch? Because it's so powerful, and so it carries so far, right? So often the lightest touch carries so much resonance and so much weight that it's really worth learning how to tune it and understand it. And such is the way with testimonials, which I'll be teaching you guys about more and more, kind of in this new iteration of OMG. I'll be talking to us more about testimonial building with clients, and showing those good testimonials and annihilation reports and earnings reports and so forth, success reports, to other clients as a template to show them how to learn how to make their own testimonial. People will love to give you a good testimonial, and they'd love to help guide their life with that. They just don't know how to do it. So we're going to do it for them. We're going to help them see that in the OMG world, and that's going to be very important for email marketing. I'm letting Brent a little bit watch over my shoulders. I'm working on something right now with Josh for a client, and so anyways, you guys will see more and more about this stuff. But But irregardless, you know, I'll tell you, it's an exciting time to be alive. Let Bryn have some airtime. I'm sure you got some notes.
Yeah, not per se a Magic. Been playing some World of Warcraft the past couple of days.
Nice. You want to talk about World of Warcraft?
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's Bryn, why don't you make sure to get Michael on the next episode, and we'll do another play session together. You want to do that?
Sweet. Yeah, I'd like that.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, why don't you help prepare us for that? We'll do that. And there's a game that I've been playing with Nikki, which I'll find and pull up on the screen here just to give a little bit of context, a little bit more context. I've been playing a Steam game, so I'll try to find that as well. All right, go ahead, Bryn.
Yeah.
Talk to us about WoW.
Yeah. So Mike, you discovered and picked a tank paladin character. I was poking around with that, and I had a bunch of spells, and I was like, it seems a little bit too complex as far as I'm representing it, right? So I was looking for an easier way. Turns out there's like a kind of like a shortcut where you can kind of have a key where you bundle a couple spells. So I think it bundles like 4, 5, 6 spells, and those are all basically like attention grabbing spells, like throw a shield and that kind of stuff. So for the mental picture, it's like, okay, well, if for this specific character.
Now, wait a second. There's something that Bryn just said, and it's very important. Okay, so Bryn is what he's trying to do when he's talking to you right now, very valuably sharing from himself. He's talking to you about a mental picture he's assembling for himself, and he's sharing that with you. Why is he doing that? This is very, very, very important law of implication. Very important. If you build, like, so often you're unable to just directly do something that you want to do, even if you're good at that thing. Even with me, with email marketing or some of the other things I'm really good at, then I can't just reach up Magic deck construction. I cannot just directly build a good deck. I don't know how. I can't just blap down cards. I have to build around these frameworks that I have with David, and then it's very easy. I never get writer's block, but I don't have this full creative approach where I'm just coming to things with nothing. I'm coming in with a framework, and that framework is always surrounding building myself a mental picture of what I want. That mental picture is a shortcut to success. Instead of trying to directly do the activity itself before building the mental picture, I'm trying to build myself that mental picture out of building blocks. I did this when we started talking to Smitty about his landfall deck. I started building a mental picture for myself of that landfall deck, so I'd be more versant and it'd be easier for me. So I'd call up a picture, a framework that I had drawn for myself and for other people, and that helps me through the creativity of it. Bryn, you're talking about factors in World of Warcraft that you're using to assemble a mental picture. Why? Because you know that that's the shortcut to you having success, that mental picture.
Yeah, and not having it is a recipe for disaster. It's like
oh right. You want to feel the difference of not having it. Of course, while you're building it, you can always say like, oh, this is hard to build. But no, what's really hard is trying to do something without a mental picture and just kind of fumbling around. Even if you get lucky and you get it right, you don't really have a recipe that you're following anyways. So there's really no stored progress no matter what without a mental picture. It's like trying to build a house without a blueprint. It's just stupid. It's literally stupid. I mean, it's actually literally stupid. Like, it's kind of like the definition of stupid is what I mean. Like, when I say something is literally stupid, I actually mean it's literally stupid. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
People usually mean the opposite when they say something is literally, they'll be like, he's literally crazy. And you're like, no, that's
But he's not literally.
Yeah, but in this case, I actually mean it is stupid to do the opposite of what is smart. It's actually stupid to do that like that. That is what's stupid. And so not building a mental picture never works for human beings. Never. And building a picture always works.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brendan. This is great.
Yeah. So just based on the default before, I had a mental picture where I basically had to get like 8 buttons right in the right order and stuff, and it just seemed too complicated.
You started building a mental picture, and as you built it, you saw it was too complicated at first, right?
Exactly.
And you're like, this can't. Okay, so this is another thing from David. Anytime your mental picture looks stupid, that's not what he means, and that's part of his training, right?
Yeah.
Is for you to know that if you arrive at a mental picture and it's too complicated to keep simply in mind and to simply explain to somebody else, if there's kind of that long silence when you're trying to explain it, that long awkward silence, that means that it's not right, and keep working on it. Is that what you mean, Brent?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Lawrence and I talk about this all the time, where we start, if we want to build a mental picture, we start with the stipulation, like there's like between 1 and 4 elements within, like if method has between 1 and 4 elements, if Jesus talk about faith, love, then how can like anything else be like, oh, it needs 1400 elements? Like maybe like eventually, but if we need a mental picture, we need to build it just a couple of elements between 1 and 4 stipulated. And for this World of Warcraft character, I was like, okay, well, if this character is a tank, then I had this mental picture at some point where it's like, okay, well, if I'm fighting against one monster and my allies are there, then I want the monster to be on me. I want the monster to have his eyes on me, and I want the monster to not have his eyes on my allies. So,
including by asking yourself that question or bringing that up, you can start asking yourself questions. You can start saying, what does that mean? I want the monster's eyes on me, but do I have to go into a panic? Let's say that I know that Lawrence, you're running some sort of a death mage or something like that, right? What's it called?
Warlock?
Warlock, right. Yep. And so is it a total disaster if the monster turns its attention to Lawrence for a few seconds, or might we discover that it's actually part of your strategy to let the monster's mind wander, but more than 20% is way too much, or more than 10% of his attention is way too much. But now once I introduce that, now you're looking for something. Do you see?
Yeah.
And so by trying to assemble a picture, do you see how there's all these obvious openings for really rich questions that are likely to be on subject, on topic, and get him where he needs to go, on the topic of breakthroughs or paradigm shifts that he's going to need to be successful.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Bryn?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. And I have this character has so I have on the basically like with the WASD is like the normal kind of walking and strafing, and then on E I have this cluster, so it's like 5 or 6.
So now Lawrence what Bryn is now doing is he's now physically mapping. So we're kind of getting into NLP right now, guys, which I'm master of some aspects of. I'm not like formal master like Dandler or something like that, but you guys can read Frogs to Princes and Persuasion Engineering. Very useful in the total. Very rarely is a total book useful, but especially the first 30 pages of Persuasion Engineering are incredibly entertaining as well. So that's especially nice. What Lawrence? Oh shoot! I mistakenly pulled up this game that I'm playing with Nikki, and I'm gonna just kind of end it. I'll pull it up on my screen so everyone can see what it looks like. So if you want a little bit more richness in your game life, is this Ghosts of Tsushima, and so I'm playing that a bit with Nikki. So that's a little bit more of a slice of life. It's a little bit of a samurai game, and you're kind of running around. You're a guy and doing some samurai. Although I was doing some kind of ninja style sneaking in there. Pretty compelling, pretty interesting game. So I'll let you know if I have many more reports on it. But so what Bryn was getting into was accommodating as part of the mental picture he's making, key mapping. Okay, so in this case, and key mapping, this can really matter when it comes to social dynamics, right? I do on my phone. I have right here someone else organized. But if I have the phone organized, always in the bottom right, I'll have the fastest camera. It used to be Snapchat, then Snapchat added some overlays. So I would click it when I needed to take a fast picture, and it would be like, no, you need to answer this question about this or something like that. So I stopped using Snapchat and I started using, but when Snapchat was the fastest. So that's my point. And so when I click on my camera, right, then my camera comes right up and I can start clicking. Okay, so that is keyword mapping that I do for myself with my career, right? That's an example of a keyword map, right? So my phone will be in my right hand pocket. I can pull it out And what's near my thumb, okay, is boop, the camera, right? And so people wonder, how do I have all these great selfies with some great people? Well, part of it is, you know, I can do that. And by the way, I just at some point practice taking a few selfies, and it's not so bad, not so hard, right? But it helps a lot. And if you don't do it, right, there was a guy who invented drilling, and for a while Sweden just kicked everyone's ass. His name was Gustavus Adolphus, and you know, there was just a weird part of European history where the Swedes just beat the crap out of everybody. And why? Because he invented drilling. He invented military drilling, and while everyone else was just like, yeah, I'm tough, his guys had drilled and killed them, right? And then everyone was like, wow, I want to stop getting killed by Swedish guys. I guess I'll drill too, right? So keyword mapping, Bryn is talking about how his guy is moving around. Is this important for Magic? Yes, it actually is important for Magic. There are certain organizing principles surrounding how we play and when we play that we can do to help us make us a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more acclimated to the game, but not too comfortable, right? Sometimes we get too comfortable, we go to sleep, right? So we want to maintain a proper creative tension, right? Creative tension so we can stay in the zone, stay on high alert, but not drive ourselves crazy, right? We don't want to be the guitar that breaks, you know? And you can say, well, Mike, you're throwing a lot at me. How do I do this? Well, for one thing, I'm describing the feelings to you, right? So you know, oh yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, okay, I shouldn't get into that thing because that is going to send me over the edge. So don't do that, right? Don't have that conversation. Don't talk to that person. Just don't do it. You're like, well, I'm supposed to. So what? Right? Like, don't, you know, just set it aside for now. And just don't, like, start by saying what happens if I don't go on tilt, if I don't have some kind of a bad episode or a bad experience or whatever. So yeah, deep episode, deep good episode, because Bryn's getting into how do I move my guy around? WASD, you know, this way, am I going this way, right? And he starts feeling it. What am I going to use the E for? Well, E's right there. It's right. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, Bryn, sometimes it's right there. It can be a little too close and you accidentally click it, right? So now you start thinking about that and what's important. And by the way, you know, when I was playing, you know, Icarus 11 Legend in Dungeons and Dragons, the all-time most powerful character in that game, you know, there's only a certain number of spells that you can even key map and only so many that you can remember. And so there's a certain core number and you get really good, you could do it. But even then, you know, you keep it together and you keep it measured. And I'm talking about this now for a reason, because you're going to be doing keyword mapping for your life soon and now, for whatever, with relationships and with business, money getting, with games, you know, your relationship with God, philosophy, right? These are the basic things that we're dealing with in life: health, wealth, love, God. And so doing it in a structured way, you're not going to have this writer block, you see. And you've seen, and you're also seeing more, why am I doing it this way now? Look, I couldn't have done it this way in 2015. I would have sounded like a loon. I already sounded like a loon enough as it was in 2015, doing the Lord's Prayers on these giant webinars and stuff like that, and other stuff that I was doing. I'm sure there was no doubt zany. I can't even remember all the zany things that I do. I'm on to the next zany thing too fast. But I got to keep it in the boundary, right? I got to keep people listening to me and working with me and being able, on the edge, right? A little bit on the edge. That's how I got to do it. Guys, one of my favorite webinars today, we'll call it a wraps at that. But this was killer. I think everyone really contributed today. I was thinking about our webinars, and I realized that Theory and Lawrence hadn't gotten a chance to talk a lot much on the last webinar, and so it led me really wanted to make sure that we spend a bit of time with each of us, because it's otherwise things kind of get left in the dust. Okay, Bryn, that was a bit of an abbreviated version, but it's going to lead to another live game session. We'll get Michael Spears on and play a little bit more World of Warcraft on our next session. And no doubt we will be hearing it. If you guys know anything, you know that Theory will be coming back to us explaining how much ass he kicked with Mr. Green and Mr. Blue, and now the Cub and Incubator Talent and so forth. So we're looking forward to hearing. That will probably take up most of the next episode if I have any guests. All right, God bless all of you guys. I'm so proud of you. Terrific session, one of my favorites yet. and we will see you next time. Thanks to David, thanks to Jesus and everything else. It's a great community. OMG is a city on a hill, a place where friends can come together in Providence. There's money flying around all over the place. There's success flying around all over the place. Happiness, it's right there, but we got to build it, right? It's flying out, flying around everywhere. But the way we grab it is we just build. We build. That's how we get it. Let's do it.